guys. Anyways, oh, now I got the womp 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 crowd from, I see how it is, the peanut gallery. Thanks, guys. Anyways, Jesus says, so now I'm giving you a new commandment. You ready for this new commandment? How many of you guys know that in the book of Lamentations, there's a lot of commandments, there's a lot of laws. He's, you know, when he was done with lamentation, you can ask him why. He said, I was done lamenting. Okay, there's all these different things, and there's all these rules and regulations for the Jewish faith. Jesus was a Jew. And he came to this world as a son of man, born to a Virgin Mary, who lived his life. And he says, I am giving you a new commandment. In other words, we're going to hold off on those right here for just a second. You're telling me what? I've been living by these for this long and you're telling me this? This is what he says. Love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. How many of us are living as disciples of God based on the fact that we show love? Huh. I hear crickets. In my head. I'm not talking about you guys, it's in my head. It's a little quiet here. I mean, think about it. Are we taking a hold of this commandment and saying, okay, I'm going to love everybody as Christ did? Because who am I to not love someone? Because I'm screwed up. I got my own junk in my life. I got this wrong, I got that wrong. I deal with this, I struggle with this. I'm screwed up. Why should I condemn someone else? Word of God says, I'm giving you a new commandment. Love each other just as I have loved you. You should love each other. Your love for one another will prove that your love will prove to one another, to the world, that you are my disciple. Which leads me to my second point. I'm going to fly through this. The second point is shine in the dark. We need to shine in the darkness. Verse 15 says, so that you will prove yourself to be blameless, innocent children of God, above reproach, in the midst of the crooked and perverse generation, among whom will appear as light to this world. We are to shine as light to this world. What does the word above reproach mean? Anybody know? Shout it out. Huh? Blameless. I like that word. Blameless. I want to talk about blameless for just a minute. Blameless, when you look at this, some refer to it as harmless. When you're harmless, you know the word harmless, what that really means? How many of you guys work with metal? Anybody? I got one person. You'll understand this. You have metal. You have two different types of metal. You have solid metal and mixture of metal. Harmless metal, blameless metal, means solid metal, not mixed with alloy. It means pure. Are you pure on the inside as you are on the outside? Because anybody can put a mask on and fool people. You can fool me till I'm old and gray, but you can't fool him. The world in which we live in is the picture. The picture is to. Wow, I can't read. We're supposed to be stars. Jump right ahead. Supposed to be stars. Got it. At camp, he talked about being a remedy to our generation. What's a generation? Well, my brothers are in a separate generation from me, and my sisters and I are in a different generation. These youth are in one generation, high school students, and some of the junior high are in that generation. Then you have the 4, 5, 6ers, because I love my 4, 5, 6 crew. Those 4, 5, 6ers, 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, they're in a completely separate generation from my high schoolers. You see, the word generation, it doesn't just stop at that age group. You see, what happens is they may be one generation when they're little, when they're born. My son or daughter, whichever it's going to be when we have our child, will be in its own generation. It's not going to be in my generation. And that child will grow up. And what happens when that child grows up? So does the rest of that generation. You see, we forget that, yes, there's youth pastors, yes, there's college pastors, yes, there's pastors, but you know what happens when they get older? Their problems get older. You know what happens when they get older? They either get wiser or they don't. When they get older, they become the leaders of the church, and if things that they needed to deal with when they were younger weren't dealt with, they still have them when they're older. You see, I still have this deal with insecurities. You know, I can remember, and I'm not going to talk here off, but I can remember being a short, fat kid and being bullied, and then when I became the size I am today, my brothers want to pick on me, and I let them beat me up because I didn't know I was stronger than them. Why is that? Because something I dealt with when I was younger didn't really kick in when I got older and stronger. We have to deal with these things before we can shine. You have to deal with your past. There's one thing I know, you can't change the past, you can't see the future, all you have is the here and now. We need to live in the here and now and turn your light on and let it shine. Benjamin Franklin decided to introduce something back in the heyday. He says, I want to introduce this thing to Philadelphia. It's called streetlights. So he went out and bought this real pretty light. He hung it on this little pedestal and he lit it. He was the only one doing it. Of course, Benjamin Franklin was this great inventor. And he did all these things, part of the Constitution. He was a good guy. Those of you know history, he was a good guy. He liked turkeys instead of eagles. I don't understand it. But anyways, he decides to get this pretty light, hang it outside, and put a light, and all of a sudden other people started noticing, you can see this light from far away. Maybe I should start doing this. So then his neighbors began to put lights outside of their house. And because of Benjamin Franklin, we have street lights. What would happen if we didn't have street lights? What would be the result of Benjamin Franklin and his street lights? Anybody know? I'll tell you. It wasn't long before Franklin's neighbors began placing street lights on their pedestals, but it wasn't long before you could see that city from far away. How many of you guys believe that we're supposed to be the church? You're supposed to be the church by hanging a light out and saying, well, here I am. And you can't hide from the light. You can't hide things in the light unless you're a magician. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, those tricksters, little magicians. There you go. You don't have sleight of hand. You can't hide your sin in the light. So you need to shine your light and be the church so that everyone will see you from where you are. Matthew 5:14 talks about being a city on a hill. You need to be the city on a hill. Number 3, and I'm almost done. Number 3 talks about shine the word. Verse 16 says, hold fast to the word of life, so that in the day of Christ I will have reason to glory, because I did not run in vain. Or I like the word where it says hold fast. How many of you guys know what the word hold fast means? Anybody know? Well, I did some little research, and the word hold fast was actually was used in that day and age to present gifts of wine to the false gods. It was to present. You're presenting something. So if you're going to hold fast, you're presenting, which means if we're going to shine the world, we're going to present the word of life. We're not just going to hold fast. I'm not talking about and then running fast. I'm not talking about holding fast. I'm not talking about whoa, whoa, whoa. No, we're presenting. We're saying, here you go. Here's the word of God lived in my life. St. Francis said it best. He says, preach the word all times. When necessary, use words. That's right. When necessary, use words. In other words, you should present the word of God by the way you live your life, and when necessary, tell people. 1 Peter 2:9 says, but you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people belonging to God, that you may declare the praise of him who called you out of darkness into the wonderful light. It was Paul's decree and his entire purpose and everything that he would present this gospel and not run in vain, because he says here, I have reason to glory because I did not run in vain. What does the word run in vain mean? The words run in vain. If you're running in vain, I did another word search. He says this, the dictionary talks about vain. It was used by a weaver to speak of a piece of clothing that was not fit for sale in this day and age. In other words, it was a discounted garment that was not worth putting a price tag on. Are you living your life as a discounted garment that's never going to sell? It's not worth anything? Or are you living your life with such power, with such authority, saying, God lives in me, and because he lives in me, I can do all things through Christ. In fact, I know I can do all things through Christ because the Word of God says the same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead dwells in me. And because of that, I have no reason to fear. I should proclaim the Word of God. You see, we're talking about changing your world. I want to talk to you about some lives that have been changed through this ministry. Can I get 2 or 3 of you guys that I talked to earlier that want to share their testimony to come on up? Come on up. I got 4. All right.